of October 20th, 2005 at 6:30 p.m. So, yeah, did everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We should see Mr. Grillo as an as a, no, not Mr. Grillo. Not Mr. Grillo. Okay, audience comments. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment? There'll be another, time at the end of the comment in case. No? Okay, no audience comments. Moving on to approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read the meeting minutes from last month? Comments? No comments on this side? No comment. Anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the September 15th meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
And I abstain because I was not here last week.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. You can't second it because you're.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. So we need a second from,
I'll second.
okay, John seconds. So 3 approvals, 1 abstain. Correspondence, do we have any correspondence?
Yeah.
No correspondence. Unfinished business, special permit, first excavation, 0 Plainfield pipe, Mr. Charles Corson. We don't have anybody here representing them, which they said they wouldn't, but we do have engineering comments that we can review.
Correct. For the record, Jim Larkin, consulting planner. So, what I did do is I did forward or reviewed the plan myself just to make sure that there was enough there to forward on to the town engineer. And I did forward that on to them and asked them just a few questions in regards to initially, because I couldn't find the previous application or any information in the town first of all regarding the previous application.
Jim, are you referring to something from like 2006 or 7?
Yes, I couldn't find the actual plan, the original plan that was filed. Normally, when you guys have an earth excavation is approved and everything, there is a plan filed. And you can find it within the town clerks, and I could not find, well, granted, I only searched online, but I couldn't find that. So when I forwarded it to town engineering, they were able to pull up all of their records of the previous one. And then I had asked them, after I kind of scanned through that and compared the two, then I told them to go ahead with the actual review. So what I provided you guys was just their first review. Mr. Blanchett has received it. He said he was gonna take a look at it, and he figured once he reviewed it, he would make changes in responses and everything, and felt he would have plenty of time to do that prior to the public hearing for next month. So I would just caution the commission on getting into too much conversation about anything, because you're just gonna need to do it over again.
Right.
within the public hearing, next month. But this way, at least you'll have some background information on what the engineer is gonna be looking at and what, Mr. Blanchett will be responding to.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I mean, we can discuss this, we'll have to do it again, so, we probably don't need to get into great detail, but it is, I'm just seeing this for the first time as we sit down here, but it did jump out, the first thing that jumped out to me is exactly what you pinpointed on, which was there was a previous application, it looks like there was previous excavation, there's old machinery laying out there. And we should factor that into reclamation when this project is done, because it looks like that wasn't done on the last application, so we can right that wrong at this, with this project.
Right, it appears that the other one, they just kind of let the permit expire. And I'm not sure in regards, because it also sounds like the DOT, because he was contacting him regarding the DOT, encroachment permit for access to Route 14A, which it also sounded like they did get approved for, just hadn't actually completed the improvements for it.
Okay.
So that also will have to be, addressed as part of this.
Okay. Would anyone else have a comment at this time? I suppose we can move on then. Anything else, Jim? That's it?
No, not regarding this. The only other thing I will mention to you is that it did receive, inland wetlands approval. And I don't believe they made any, at least based on what I could see in the minutes, there weren't any, changes or conditions to the, application that were specific to the plan that was presented, so.
Okay. All right, moving on then to new business. So we have two items in here. They are the two items from the public hearing, which we've kept open for legal purposes. So we don't really have too much to discuss on these, does anyone want to say anything about this before we move on? Okay. Then we will move on to CEO report.
There's two new businesses. One is the subdivision, one is zoning regulations and the second one is subdivision. They're listed as two separate items because they're two separate sets of regulations. So I think we just need to say we're gonna move forward to the next one. So there's 7A is zoning regulations and 7B is subdivision regulations.
Yeah, so I guess, no, should we make a motion to continue? So we should make a motion.
Continue with table.
Yeah. Would someone like to make a motion
Because you
to?
can't continue. Okay, right, because you haven't closed out the public hearing.
Right.
Oh, so table, all right, would
Do you
someone
want to
like to
table
make a
7A?
motion to table item 7A and 7, actually we'll do them separately. 7A, proposed changes, text amendments to zoning regulations, and then we'll do a second one for proposed text amendment subdivision regulation. We need two motions.
Make a motion to table 7A. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't read it. That's okay. I have it on my phone. Just switching back and forth. I make a motion to table 7A, things on proposed text amendments on regulations.
Is there a second? A second. All those in favor? Aye.
I'll make a motion to table 7B, planning zone proposed text amendment subdivision regulations.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we'll move on. CEO report. I'll read through this and then I'll update on the discussion that I had with, John and Taylor, last week. Regarding the session I was supposed to have with them earlier. So, where we have listed, number 1, inquiries and administrative updates. Bullet point, lot frontage and subdivisions. So there's 2 items here. The office responded to several public inquiries regarding lot frontage requirements and subdivision procedures. And number 2, that clarifications were provided regarding current zoning regulations, including frontage minimums for residential development and procedural steps for subdivision approval. Sounds fairly routine.
What do they mean by frontage minimum? Does that mean somebody wants to build a building and the only thing that somebody wanted to do is subdivision?
It sounds like somebody had questions, right? So the second item, it sounds like somebody had questions on what is the lot frontage minimum.
Yeah, I was copied on one of them, and what it was it seemed like a gentleman was looking for information. One, he was looking for information on what was required in regards to lot frontages, but he was also looking to see if there was any maps or anything for his particular property that showed what the current lot frontage was. Because he was trying to determine whether he had enough lot frontage to even think about doing any kind of a division of his property.
Yeah, so he had not done any type of survey or anything.
Right, he hadn't even gone to that point. He wanted to know if there was, because I think what John had originally said to him was, hey, if you contact the town clerk, there may be a map on file that has, in which there was an older map on file that did have some lot frontage dimension. I think it was only a class D or something, but that at least gave him a general idea of how much frontage was there.
You probably could have used the GIS.
Because he can also use the GIS. It just gives you a general idea anyway. I think it was the same gentleman who was asking about what the process for subdivision was, and generally speaking, how long would it take to go through the subdivision process?
Item number 2, legal and site inspection updates, 12 to 13 North Sterling Road inspection. Awaiting response from the town attorney regarding the request to obtain court authorization to conduct a property inspection at 12 to 13 North Sterling Road. I think that's that same ongoing property with the same dumping. Yeah, the same sweeping, dumping, something. So it's ongoing. Number 3, land use applications, all on item number 1, all current land use applications, subdivision, special permit, excavation, site plan, ZBA application are now available online via the Town of Sterling website for public access. Payments can be made online or in person. And then number 2, this supports transparency and ease of submission for applicants. All modern. All modern in Town of Sterling. See the trees. Questions, comments? So I did have a meeting with John and Taylor, like I said, last week, and just posed the question, is there anything that they're receiving, is there any one topic or multiple topics that they're receiving questions over and over again where it would be something that we could help to clarify or answer with a change to the regulations? They both said they didn't have anything at this time that in their opinion needed to be updated or changed. Have you heard anything different than that? Because it sounded like there was, I was surprised because it sounded like there was maybe some suggestions there somewhere, but they didn't offer anything.
No, I hadn't heard anything. Usually what will happen is someone may contact the zoning enforcement officer, whether it's a residential development or whether it's a business in town, And as they clarify, like, what type of thing that they're doing, zoning enforcement will basically kind of get a feel for whether or not it's something that is just like an accessory use to a residential aspect, or whether it's something that rises to the, to be more of a non-residential use or commercial use that would need to come to the commission, as a, separate application. And then if he feels it's that, then he'll, more or less kind of copy me in on it and say, hey, you would want to contact, the consulting planner, Jim Larkin, da, 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 da. And usually if it's a question, I'll answer it, but, they'll either come back and follow up with me on whatever it is they're looking to do. That there was someone just recently who had that question, although he didn't follow up, because it had to do with a, someone looking to do, firewood. But he didn't go to
As a
the.
business?
Yes,
Oh,
but it was hard to determine whether or not, one, did they live on the property? Was it just someone cutting firewood on their property and selling it? Or were they importing firewood and splitting it and
reselling it.
and that's, I think, where John was kind of trying to get a feel from them as to whether or not it's something that would need to get permitted by this group. If you're importing wood from somewhere else and then processing it and selling it, as opposed to, I'm just cutting wood on my acreage and selling it to someone, which might be a little different,
Yeah.
kind of more of an accessory use type thing. So, but, I haven't heard anything back from that gentleman yet.
And I did bring up specifically, is there anything regarding accessory dwelling units that you've been seeing a lot of questions on? Because it sounded like there was a number of them a month or two ago. They said they haven't really had anything new in that department, so. Any good news for us? We don't have anything to change immediately, so. So that would be your plus. I gave them my email, we, agreed to keep the dialogue open, so if something comes up that they feel like, yeah, I just want them to know that, you know, we wanna work together and make sure that if there's something that's causing them a problem because they're getting the same question over and over again, and it's not clear, then we can fix something to make that situation better, but for right now, we're okay, apparently. So that's all I have for the CEO report. Unless we have any other questions or comments? Then we'll move on to other business. Regulation priorities. Do you have anything for us, Jim?
I only had one thing. Do we want to just I see there's a gentleman, Cody Fall, who has his hand up. Do we want to just let him know that there is a audience comments coming up after this section?
Yes. After this section, there is an audience comments, and at what
And
point
at
we
that
can
point, you can
entertain questions for sure.
Unmute him at that point.
Okay, the only thing that I actually, when it came to priorities, I know at the last meeting, we kind of ran through them quickly. There wasn't anything on the list that, you guys were looking at, specifically. The only thing that we were muddling around with last time a little bit was the frontage section. So I did kind of pull apart a little bit of the frontage.
I see a lot of crossed out stuff, Jim.
Well, it's only crossed out just because it makes it easier. A lot of what is there is still the same
Okay.
as what is in the verbiage below. Because it sounded like you were looking to have it kind of match the table format that was used or being used for the minimum lot requirements and things like that.
It is a very wordy
Right.
section as it's written.
So I just kind of tried to quickly go through it and make the format match that without changing the intent of what the regulation is, which it appears to me, what the regulation is that any lot, your frontage requirement is 250 feet for a lot. Except for when you have a rear lot. A rear lot requires a minimum of 25 feet, but a maximum of 50 feet. For a dwelling or residential use on a rear lot, but that's a residential use on a rear lot that's empty. If you're doing an additional dwelling on a residential, on a non-residential or a non-residential use on a rear lot, or you're adding a dwelling to a rear lot that already has a dwelling, you increase the minimum to 40 feet. And the maximum is 50 feet.
Is that in addition to the front property that's existing now?
That's just for a rear lot, so you would still have a frontage lot. So this only deals with, whatever that rear lot or interior lot is.
Where is the frontage on a rear lot?
So basically, it's the access way. So if you have an interior lot, what they're calling frontage is your access way. So your minimum lot frontage is your, in a lot of towns, the reason they do the maximum 50 feet is that that way you can't split, or you can only split an interior lot once. Because if the max is 50 feet, and your minimum is 25 feet, theoretically, you could split an interior lot one time.
We're looking at the map from Mr. Corson here.
Yeah.
In the Locus map, which has all the neighboring properties, there's a flag lot on there that has, that narrow driveway access as a portion of the parcel. And that would include that 25-foot width, so that's the frontage exactly. All these other lots, here's another one, yeah. All these other lots, yeah. Although, those lots are big,
Can I ask a question? Yes.
Question?
So the front lot is 250 feet. Is the rear lot in addition to the 250? Or does it become part of the 250?
No, the rear lot doesn't have the 250.
Rear lot.
Right, but so the front lot has 250 feet minimum. And then the rear lot is next to that, so it doesn't take any of that 250, right?
The extra access.
Right.
The extra access is in addition to that, so it would be 225 to.
Oh, like in subdivision situation, yeah, if somebody's splitting a rear lot off,
It's gotta be, I
yeah,
have
they
a
still have to have their
250,
250.
and then you're gonna, okay.
So they would have to have
So then the
275.
most for a rear
And
lot
that's
would be.
right, and that's where that last line that we have in there, that there shall be no more than 2 rear lots per 500 feet of continuous frontage on a street.
So you have one here, one here.
So
one
basically,
here,
you're only allowed 1 rear lot,
on either side.
right? You can't stack a bunch of rear lots together and
Okay,
have a
and
bunch
have
of,
a bunch of really long.
Yeah,
narrow
have 4
driveways.
driveways in a row, yeah,
Yeah.
that's happened, it was terrible, but it happens, yeah. Or it has happened.
So Jim, I have a question.
sure,
So, remember maybe 6, 8 months ago, you went through and looked at non-conforming lots? So with a non-conforming lot, just for simplicity's sake, we'll look at the first one here, a front lot right on the road, it would not require 250 feet to build a building, correct?
if you have it depends on whether it is a lot. It can be a non-conforming lot as long as it's a lot of record. So is a lot that existed prior to,
Certainly.
right, prior to subdivision approval. Whichever, that date was. So, I think your subdivision regulations were 1988. They were adopted.
Okay, so when I'm reading through the, regulations, I get confused with, when I see text like this, and then there's some things in there about non-conforming lots. So they're not that clear of what applies where and when, just because how something's conforming. Do you think that would make sense, to try to clean that up a little bit?
To add some language.
Just try to clear up so people understand the difference.
That you don't end up with a new non-conforming lot.
No.
No, that's fine.
So we have like a whole bunch of, so just look through, what did you look at, just how many acres per? A lot, if it was less than 2 acres?
Yeah.
Yep, that was that map that we have up there, so that's
There was
the,
a whole bunch of them, it wasn't even looking at like, does it have 250?
right, we didn't look at frontage, we looked at,
But the point was that there's, how people have houses on non-conforming lots and they wanna do things like add porches.
Right, so that falls under section 5.
And there is a section that talks about.
Right, so if, I'll just read it, so, section 5.02A, any non-conforming structure may be continued as a non-conforming structure. However, the structure may not be expanded or enlarged in such a way as to increase the area, extent, or amount of non-conformity. And the structure may not be expanded or extended vertically or horizontally within a required setback.
So we were talking about that, we had a discussion about that a couple weeks ago, we were saying that, if it was like, what's our setback from like the front?
Right, so if we have a 50-foot front setback,
And this building
and
is 30
and
feet
the
away.
structure is within that 50-foot setback, it says you cannot make it,
Closer to the road.
you can't make it closer to the road, and you can't extend it horizontally, but I believe if you were to add to the side of that,
You probably could. But the point was,
that would be one that's,
those kinds of things in there, I think it would make sense to kind of clean that stuff up. Just so it's clear to a person, and it affects a lot of people. Basically, do you remember how many homes when you were looking at that,
well, I don't remember off the top of my head, I have to go back. and
Initially, we
go
were
back.
just looking at like
Right.
the village areas.
That's like number of-
Like
Yeah.
a whole bunch of them.
the number of houses in town that would be fall into this. Oh, I mean, any town has, a fair percentage of homes.
Rhode Island is an example.
Right, because they had such a problem, they were backed up for months and months and months, and they don't have the 65-day ruling clause that we have in Connecticut, they have unended, so I had clients on the docket for 6, 8 months and couldn't get on the docket to be heard. And their project is just dead in the water at that point. So they had to adjust their regulations to deal with that, and one of them was by making a very simple line that allowed them to increase their non-conformance by the same percentage that the property was non-conforming. So if it was 100,000, if it was a 50,000 square foot lot and 100,000 square foot, so if it was a 50,000 square foot lot and 100,000 square foot zone, they'd be 50% of the regulation, so they were allowed to increase their non-conformity by 50%. That's kind of an extreme situation.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have anything that pressing
No.
here, but we're
But,
looking into.
and I would think in most cases, if somebody wants to do something, and they go talk to the building inspector or the CEO,
Mhm.
they can help them figure those things out.
Yeah, that's the first line of,
But it would make sense to,
Yeah.
kind of, looking at some of that text, see if we can clean it up a little bit.
right, so Jim has posed, an adjustment right there in section 4.03 frontage, but it probably drags in section 5.
I think, right, I think previously my concern with this section was with the word expanded.
Right,
Because it's one thing, because now you're talking about a house that's already there.
Right.
So you already have a house on a lot that doesn't have, The required
Frontage.
and now you're telling me I can't put an addition on it, even though my addition may fit into the required setback,
Right,
which doesn't, at least to me, make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
That's why it was the expanded part
Technically,
that,
the answer would be no from the CPL. We don't touch this. Because of the word expanded. So, if you want an addition on it, it have 250 feet or immediately. out.
right, which seems,
So, yeah, we should fix that.
right, which seems odd.
Yeah, there has to be an outlet, there has to be a way through the system. If you have a non-conforming lot or a non-conforming, property.
So I mean, that's definitely something, what I can do is I can look at that in line with the current non-conforming regs that you have. And then I can actually sit down with, John, being the enforcement guy, and say, hey, here, if I wanna do this, tell me what I can do and what I can't do.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
then based on that, we
you're never
can,
gonna write a regulation that fits every single scenario
Right.
out there, but the idea is, let's make this as clean and as possible for, 90% of applications that could come through.
without making it super
So
confusing.
wordy and confusing.
Correct. Because I think that's what, at least when I read through it, it seems that what has happened over time is that just things have just kept being added and added, and it's almost made it,
Yeah.
it almost loops back around to itself where they didn't know they were making it more restrictive, but they are.
Okay, so I think this is probably a pretty good start, at least. Thoughts, anybody? Okay, well, Jim, thanks for putting this together. I'm definitely gonna spend some time between now and, next meeting. Thinking through what potentially could come up, what questions could be raised in this scenario, and make sure that we write something that has it covered. Which you've already done, but, we've got some exercise myself. Any other thoughts? All right, we'll move on then. Jim, should we make a three motion to continue this? We don't do a motion.
No, you don't need to motion.
We'll move on. Audience comments.
Okay, I unmuted Cody Fall.
We have a question or comment on Zoom?
No,
Sorry.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. No, I was joining on behalf of the Gibson Hill Campground. I believe my colleague will have some questions for you. I was just joining for visibility.
Yeah, we were just hoping to chime in at the very end of this meeting. We just had some questions about the process of getting on the schedule and stuff, but we were not trying to interrupt your scheduled stuff.
No problem. Now's the time. The floor is yours.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Please.
Oh, cool. I'm Alex, and that's Cody. Yeah, we just hopped on because we're trying to make some improvements over at the campground, and we honestly don't know the full process to get approval for the changes that we're looking to make over there. but we are trying to upgrade the some of the campsites over there is one of our improvements, as well as we've talked to the NDDH, and we're probably going to be looking to add a second bathhouse over there, or I guess this will be a third one. So we have like some rough drawings, and I actually have a site plan that I could share now, but I understand this is not like in any way a complete application. But you know, if it's of any interest, I can walk through what we have, and then I'd love guidance on what we need to do to, you know, actually present a full application, you know, when the time is right.
I mean, you can set up,
Do you want to respond?
I mean, probably what the best thing to do is if you have my contact information, I can give it to you, or can you type it into the chat maybe?
Perfect.
And we can set up a time to meet here at the town hall, and if you bring the site plan, or if you email it to me in advance, and then we can set up a time to meet here at the town hall, we can go through the application process and everything.
That would be awesome. Thank
But
you.
if you started everything, or even if you haven't started with, health department, because I think changes, it'll probably be a special permit is my guess. So if we go, we can discuss that whole process and everything. But that's probably the first step, is that way if we sit and take a look at what it is you're looking to do, it'll probably involve, at least some type of, site plan, as you said, health department approval, but, probably you and I meeting, and maybe if we schedule it the same day as zoning enforcement, is here.
Cool.
So maybe,
Yeah, that would be great.
that would be like a Wednesday from between 1 and 5 is the weekly office hours for the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay. I could probably be there this Wednesday, if that works.
I am actually at, cost all day Wednesday. I am, so I'm out of the office.
Well, you guys can coordinate it.
But so.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
Yep,
What's your email?
my email is jim.larkin@necog.org.
Want to give you the G? Is that right? NECOG.
NECCOG.
NECCOG.
And then if you want to send me what plans you have now, that way I can see if, for some reason, I think maybe it might be helpful to have, the town engineer involved, right away or something, but, that way if you share it with me,
Okay, yeah, perfect. I'll send an email over shortly, and hopefully we can coordinate some time to get together.
sounds good.
Awesome, thank you.
Are there
Thank you,
any other-
everybody.
Yeah, any other questions? That's it? Fairly straightforward. Yeah, we'd be happy to see what you guys want to do and figure out the best way to help you through with solutions.
We greatly appreciate the assistance. You know, we want to do the right thing over there. So
Yeah, we
thank you very
appreciate
much.
that very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You as
Any
well.
other
Thank you.
questions? Any other questions from the audience? All right, would like to make a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? A second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.